let's get it going then, I guess. All right, well, let's start with Kino's release of I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. So what do we want to say about that?
I love that movie. All right,
actually quite charming.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I mean, like that was that high period of black comedy in the 90s with things like, Friday and this and Don't Drink Your Juice in the Hood and things like that. So and How High, I always liked How High quite a bit.
How High, yeah.
That's a very funny movie. Yeah, that's good. Undercover Brother, that's another one that's good.
Oh yeah, Eddie Griffin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Is
stuff.
Eddie Griffin
Definitely
the one that's
good
playing
stuff.
Richard Pryor now? I think he is, isn't he?
Yeah, I can't remember. I
then,
thought they got a younger guy.
Eddie Murphy got a secondary part or something. Or maybe Eddie Griffin was the one that they kept saying, you should have seen his audition tape, and they hired the wrong guy. There was something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Well, let's see. We got the giant spider invasion from 1975.
False advertising. The advertisement. Okay, so I used to especially in elementary school, day camp. I'd always read famous monsters and everything. We'd always go to the newsstand and buy that. There's that famous poster of the giant spider invasion, and it's really creepy looking and everything. I remember watching the movie a couple of years later, and it was just the special effect. It just really bad, something that would be on FCTV's, spoof or something. It was really just god awful. And nothing.
I mean, they do have a giant spider in it, but it's not very menacing looking. It looks kind of it kind of looks kind of rickety, and I remember seeing it at the drive-in back in the mid '70s.
I would have frozen up at the screen, Dean, if I was at the drive-in with you. I would have just been really disappointed.
Isn't the skipper in that movie?
Alan Hale?
Yeah.
Alan Hale Jr.
Yeah, Barbara Hale is in it. Steve Brody.
Oh, Hale.
So,
yeah.
You got the wrong Hale.
It's just, it says here that they're both in it, but is it just one spider?
I've never actually seen it. I remember Stephen King cited it in Dance Macabre as one of the worst films he had ever seen because the story goes that they used Volkswagen Beetles and retrofitted them to look like spiders in the film.
That's really saying something. That's really saying something because he's seen Maximum Overdrive. So
I know.
Yeah. Well, this was before he made Maximum Overdrive, so maybe
what's the best spider-related movie, you guys? The one that gave you
spider-related movie.
Oh, I think
Kingdom of the
Spiders. Yeah, absolutely.
Kingdom of the Spiders scared the shit out. No movie has done more damage to me than that movie. That movie scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Totally agree.
Arachnophobia, maybe?
Oh, that's
good. I just didn't think that's as good as Kingdom of the Spiders. It's that still holds up. I think it's still good. I just revisited that a month ago. So yeah.
He was supposed to make a sequel. Shatner wanted to make a sequel to that for years.
Did he die?
No.
Oh no, he was stuck in the basement. Right.
He was stuck in that town. But you know that scene where the woman, there's the woman who's from the farmer's wife, and she's got the handgun and she's trying to shoot them in the kitchen. I mean, there's just tons of crazy stuff like that. I mean, that movie.
It's a really frightening movie. It's most frightening to me when with the little girl on the swing, and then the mother runs out to save her.
Oh God! Right.
And then she's taken down by the spiders. Oh God, it's terrible.
Oh, it is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the woman you're talking about that fires the gun in the movie, that's Altaviz Davis. That was Sammy Davis Jr.'s wife. So.
Oh wow! Okay.
She got to be careful with that gun. She could lose an eye.
Exactly. So anyway, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I think it's been previously issued on Blu-ray, but they brought it back out of the Disney vaults for one more go round. The Signature Collection, they are referring to it. So. for whatever it's worth, in case you didn't get it the first go round.
Adam, does Disney still do these limited release? Like they're going to pull them from shelves after a certain time, like they used to?
It seems like such an antiquated idea. This, but are they still doing that?
Yeah, they do. They do. They're still doing that. I don't know if you guys remember the Saturday TV Funhouse skit they did on Saturday Night Live years ago. The animated skit where the kids. It's Journey to the Disney Vaults, and the kids actually go inside the Disney Vaults and find out what's in there, and there's all kinds of racist propaganda, and they have Walt Disney's frozen head in there, and just all kinds of, and the extreme racist version of A Song of the South that Walt only showed to his guests at parties. So it's quite funny if you haven't ever seen that.
I'm going to look that up. I love all those things.
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's hilarious. It's a great satire on all that. Yeah, moving onward, how about 1979's The Passage, directed by J. Lee Thompson and starring Anthony Quinn and James Mason and Malcolm McDowell and Christopher Lee. I never saw it.
What's that about? I've never heard of that. What's that about?
It's a World War II film. Yeah, World War II. It's Anthony Quinn. He's a mountaineer, and he tries to smuggle a French scientist and his family over the Pyrenees Mountains to neutral Spain while being pursued by a group of Nazis. And the lead Nazi is played by Malcolm McDowell. So.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It's amazing they were still doing those World War II action movies even into the 80s, you know. With,
I
you
know.
know, and now if they do a World War II movie, it's like a big event, like wow, they're doing a World War II thing, and we never see them anymore. I think the last one was Monuments Men.
Or Fury.
Fury, yeah, you're right.
Right.
You're right.
Well, it also has Patricia Neal and Kay Lenz and Michael Lonsdale, and there's a couple other interesting actors. That's a good cast, but
two Bond villains. Yeah. You know, Lonsdale and Lee. You know, I mean,
you
can't ask for much more.
Yeah, Robert Brown also turns up. That was you know, when Bernard Lee died. He's in there too. So.
Oh my God!
So,
I mean,
you couldn't ask for more, and you wouldn't dare ask for less. What's the next title, Adam?
So, okay, Sheba Baby. Pam Grier.
What's the next title, Adam?
That's one of the ones of hers that I haven't seen.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think I own all these. Like, do you remember that Soul Cinema in the '90s? It was VHS. That whole collection. I think I have like all these somewhere in the basement.
Yeah, it's directed by William Girdler, and this is the guy who directed The Manitou and Grizzly and Day of the Animals.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Holy smokes.
Abby was the other one. I don't know if you guys remember that. That's the one that was the blaxploitation ripoff of The Exorcist, and then Warner Brothers sued them for similarities, and they had to withdraw it from circulation. But now you can get bootlegs of it, of course, online. But for years you could not find a copy of Abby anywhere. And this guy, he was very prolific, and then he was killed in a helicopter crash in '78, I think. So right after the release of The Manitou, which is it's only his early 30s, but he cranked them out, and Sheba Baby is one of them. And Arrow is putting that out. Arrow has been doing some great work. I got to tell you guys, I posted something on Facebook that they've been doing some great work with some of these titles that aren't getting fitful Blu-ray releases here in the States. Like they did De Palma's The Fury and Obsession in these outstanding Blu-ray transfers with all these extras and just nice booklets, and The Long Goodbye. Tony Macklin contributed to that one. I think you guys probably know that. So it's they are rivaling, I think, Criterion, but unfortunately, most of their releases you can't play in American players. You have to have a region-free player. But if you,
so they're not just re-releasing them for the States. These are the
No, they're not. No, that's the difference. Yeah, you can't get. But I've gotten a region-free player, and it's really worth it if you can get. I got a really good deal on one, and boy, I'm telling you, like this transfer on the Fury is. I've never seen it look this good. I mean,
really,
it's just. It's unbelievable. I'm telling you. I mean, some of those, those big De Palma sequences that he's known for that are in the movie that make it, those big set pieces are just play out so well with this it's. And there's an interview with Richard Klein on there too, who's the director of photography on that, and he explained some of the intricacies of putting together that stuff. There's a lot of rear projection in some of those sequences going on where he's projecting something, and there's other stuff going on in the foreground. It's really interesting what they're, how they pull all that off. Anyway.
It's so clear Andrew Stevens actually gives a two-dimensional performance in it. That's what I understood. but
there you go.
He is definitely the weak point in that movie. I have to
agree.
pipe up and say.
Every time I see Andrew Stevens, I'm looking all over the place for Shannon Worry. I'm like, they were the great Cinemax duo. But didn't Arrow also come out with some insane 3 or 4 disc Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, like a year or two back?
Yeah, they did actually.
I was like, what warrants 4 discs for Texas Chainsaw 2?
They did. They absolutely did, and apparently it sold quite well. I mean, there are fans who lapped it up. So there's they do have a solid fan base, and so there's if you've got a region-free player, you can get your hands on some of these Arrow video discs. By all means, I would recommend our listeners to grab them because they're very good stuff. So anyway, but I'm digressing.
Also came with a 100-page book, the Chainsaw 2 set.
Wow!
Whoa, golly!
I know.
Well, the books that are in the ones I have are 40, 50 pages. I mean, these are lengthy. The books like the one on the Fury, which has a lot of has some film scholars riffing on it in there. It's an interesting take on it too, by the way.
Apparently, the film scholars have twice as much to say about Texas Chainsaw 2 as they do The Long Goodbye. I guess that's what we're to take away from this.
It's kind of a sad statement, I know.
That is a sad statement. God.
Well, Paramount is issuing, I guess they've got to, milk the cash cow while they can, so they're issuing a 50th anniversary edition of the Star Trek Motion Picture Collection with all the original cast. So they're putting another one of those out, and then they're doing another one with the Next Generation cast. So there's 2 separate boxes out.
50th, what? 50th anniversary of the old show. I see.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Because I thought that I just aged like 10 years.
Yeah, I was just going to say I was going to call it quits after tonight. So I mean, just.
No, it's just an excuse to get Star Trek titles back out there again. But, if you don't have them, they're there. So, anyway, A Mighty Wind, Warner Archives, is gradually getting around to the Christopher Guest films, putting them out. They did Best in Show several years ago, and they've finally gotten around to putting out A Mighty Wind, which I think gets better and better with every viewing, if you ask me. I think that's just a really
I remember
funny.
liking it quite a bit.
Oh yeah, it's. I saw it when it came out, and I've revisited it several times, and it gets better. I think so. It's out there. Another one is The Immigrants and the New Land from Criterion. They've done a set where they compiled the 2 Jan Troell Swedish films with Max von Sydow and Liv Ullmann into one edition where you can get them both. And this is like I think a total running time of about 5 hours. Because these cuts of these films are longer than anything we've seen in the States.
Right.
But yeah. So if you haven't seen them,
have you watched them?
I have not gotten around to it yet. But I do know that the cuts are longer. In fact, it's at the top of my heap of discs to get into, and so it's.
You probably have to be. You have to be in the right mood to watch it, I'm sure. But so.
Well, I'm planning on blocking out an entire week to get it knocked out because it's going to take that long probably. But we'll get through it eventually. But I'm kind of excited about it. So anyway, so those were all released on February the 9th. I think that takes care of the catalog stuff. And then we move on to February 16th, and we have some interesting, very diverse titles here. We have Amos and Andrew.
Oh, God, I remember that. Oh, God. Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. I'm not sure we want to remember Amos and Andrew.
Which one is that? Is that the Nicolas Cage, Sam Jackson? Or?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I can't believe
That's
I
the
actually
one.
sat and watched that.
How do you think I feel? I mean, I remember seeing that in the theater too. I mean,
Yes. Well, Beat Street is another release. Since they've already plumbed the depths and done Breaking and Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo, so the next logical step would be to release Beat Street on Blu-ray.
Of course.
So there we have it. And
by the way,
out as well.
Speaking of those movies, did you guys see where they've brought back Canon Films? It's not
I did
not
actually.
Golden Globus, but like somebody else just kind of bought that name, I guess, and they're releasing like Return to the Delta Force, and they've got like 5 or 6 titles in the pipeline.
oh my
really?
God, okay.
So they're doing the same thing that Canon and the actual Canon did, and like announcing all of these movies that they're going to produce, then we'll never see them.
Right. However, if you go to their new website, I think it's like canon-films.com, they make it clear that they do not own the rights to any of the old movies. And yet they sell their company on all those old movies. Let's see, they're doing American Ninja Apprentice.
Oh, cool.
Return of the Delta Force, U.S. Sniper. It's not a ripoff of American Sniper at all. It takes place in the U.S. Jewel of the East. So it looks like the same crappy product, but
wow, well, they're doing it right.
There you go. Well, that's it'll be interesting to see if any of those actually materialize. But anyway, so the 1983 film Class with Jacqueline Bisset and Rob Lowe. That's they're issuing that.
Oh my
God. It's not one of the high points in the career of Louis John Carlino, the director of that film. I was a fan of his work, but not particularly that one. He's the guy who did The Great Santini and Second with Rock Hudson and quite a few.
He wrote
Resurrection
Second.
with Ellen
That's
Burstyn.
right.
Yeah, Resurrection with Ellen Burstyn. He wrote that one too. So.
Yeah, that was good too. Didn't he also do The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea?
That's right.
That's a great. I like that movie. It's a great book, great Mishima book. But Wow. So wait, he did Class? He did.
Yes, he did. So I know it's shocking.
At the time, Class was I remember, was not a big movie, but it was popular for the brief time it was out.
Right.
I do remember it.
Yeah, he's a writer director who kind of fell off the map. I don't know any. As far as I know, he's still around, but I wonder he just quit making films not long after that. It's kind of strange, but anyway. So Twilight Time, their slate of discs came out last Tuesday, and they had some interesting titles. They did Where the Sidewalk Ends with Glenn Ford, and they did.
I love that. That's a film noir classic. That's a really great movie.
Yeah, it is one of the great film noirs, and they also reissued The Big Heat, which they had previously issued, and that sold completely out because they only pressed 3,000 of them the first time.
Mm-hmm.
They reissued that, and last month they did the Hawaii, the Julie Andrews and Max von Sydow, which was penned by Dalton Trumbo, of course. Well, the Hawaiians, which was the sequel, they issued that this month. So, so if you want to follow up and see the continuing adventures of the missionaries going to Hawaii, there you go. Support your local sheriff and support your local gunfighter. They put those out on a single disc, actually. Those Burt Kennedy Western comedies from the early late 60s.
Very funny.
They're worth checking out again. La Bambola di Satana, which is a film I'm not familiar with. It's a 1969 Italian horror film. So I'm curious about that one. But anyway, A Cowboy is another one, and that's also Glenn Ford, Jack Lemmon, and Anna Kashfa. So Delmer Davies directed. So
Wow, it's weird to think. That's weird to think of Jack Lemmon in a Western.
Yes, it is.
That's very odd.
So there you go. Those are the Twilight Time. That's their slate for February, and have Kino is issuing the 1966 film Ambush Bay with Hugh O'Brien, Mickey Rooney, and James Mitchum. So they're putting that one out. Also, Kino's also issuing Beachhead from 1954. That's Tony Curtis, Frank Lovejoy, and Mary Murphy. Another World War II thing. That were kind of,
what a great title.
Yeah. Well, you got
ain't nothing quite like it.
Well, Richard Anderson, who played Oscar Goldman on The $6 Million Man, he didn't get that many opportunities to be a leading man, but he did in 1958 with Curse of the Faceless Man. And so this was one of his few. It's directed by Edward L. Kahn, cult filmmaker. And so
you know what?
Yeah.
Richard Anderson, I interviewed him, and he was because I interviewed him for Kubrick series Episode 1 because he was in Paths of Glory, right? Wasn't he in that one?
Mm-hmm.
He was.
Yeah. So we talked about Kubrick, and I could. His phone was set so damn low. I had to amplify that damn thing so loud. I always hated that I had to do that because I was able to use very, very little of his interview. But
terrible.
I know it sucks. And he was telling me about the $6 Million Man or whatever too. But it was a long, half-hour conversation. He was very descriptive about Kubrick and that he knew he was in the midst of a great genius, and it's a regret.
Yes.
Yeah, missed opportunity. Terrible. Well, Death by Hanging, Criterion is that.
That's the alternative. Death by Hanging.
Yeah, that's the alternative to The Curse of the Faceless Man.
Yes.
And so you have that. That's been a title that's been highly anticipated, I'm told. And
is that a horror film? Death by Hanging?
Death by Hanging. It's 1968. Nagisa Oshima's. It's one of his films.
Okay.
Yeah, it's his films are an acquired taste. Anyway, Warner Archive has issued I Confess, the Alfred Hitchcock 1953. Last month they did The Wrong Man. This month they did another one of the Warner Brothers titles that didn't make it to the box set that came out a couple of years ago. So there's that. And you have Moonlight and Valentino from Olive Films. Elizabeth Perkins, Whoopi Goldberg, and
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Kathleen Turner, yep. Gwyneth Paltrow too. So.
Oh, Moonlight and Valentino. Is that Zeffirelli? I think it's Franco Zeffirelli. Was that the one that Cher was in? No, that was Tea with Mussolini. I'm getting a mix.
David Anspaugh directed this one. So.
The Hoosiers guy or whatever.
Hoosiers.
Yep. That's it.
So, was that the whole period of time where they would have adult couples going through divorce movies, like Sweetheart's Dance? Remember that movie, 88?
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
There was a time when those seemed to be coming out with regularity. My Science Project from the 80s, 1985. John Stockwell, Fisher Stevens.
Not a bad movie.
And Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Dennis Hopper.
The science teacher we always wish we had. Come on. It's good. It's a funny movie. It's very funny.
It is.
Yeah, so what about Ethan Hawke and Terry Polo in Mystery Date, 1991?
God.
I
guess we're getting into the 90s nostalgia now.
Looks like it. Absolutely.
Terry Polo.
Yeah. So, got No Way Out with Hackman and Kevin Costner, of course, from '87. That's getting special treatment from Shout Factory, which I'm Roger Donaldson, of course, directed, and I still think that holds up, personally. But
it's everybody talks about the limousine scene.
Yeah.
That's not a great sex scene. I never thought it was, and it's especially taken down by them using the song in it, the title song. But there's no way out. It's like this.
Oh no.
Well, that
kind of
is
terrible.
I'll tell you, the 80s was
terrible.
the king time for bad movie themes. I mean, last week we were talking about Arthur and that terrible Milk and Cookies song.
I closed last week's show with that song. It's a beautiful song.
I have to go and listen to the full thing. Oh man.
Well, how about this cast? Sidney Poitier, Bobby Darin, and Peter Falk. Well, they all appeared together in Pressure Point from 1962. That's getting all of film.
Now that's one I've always kind of wanted to see. Is Poitier playing a doctor in that or something?
Falk is a psychiatrist, and I think his superior is played by Sidney Poitier, and Bobby Darin is a Nazi youth who hated blacks.
Okay.
So I've never seen it, but I'm curious, especially with that cast. So Pray for Death from 1985, which is one of those Sho Kosugi movies, directed by Gordon Hessler, who did Scream and Scream Again and Golden Boys of Sinbad, and that's Arrow Videos putting that out. And this next one is a pretty good 80s comedy, I think, Secret Admirer with Tommy Howell,
Kelly
Lori Loughlin, Kelly Preston.
Yeah.
So nice score by Jan Hammer there. And
C. Thomas Howell never really got work after a certain point. Like, you don't see him around, do you?
No, not really.
I don't know. That's a good question.
What killed his career? Was it Soul Man?
No, he worked after Soul Man. I mean,
I think he did an episode of Celebrity Rehab or something. And, once you do that,
well,
like,
Yep. People know the story.
Yeah.
No one wants to see Thomas Howell anymore.
Well, it didn't do Jeff Conaway any favors, that's for sure. So
no. But he is Jeff Conaway is the president on a $20 bill. Like, their faces look exactly the same. He and Andrew Jackson. Look at your $20 bill.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, here, Sleep With Me from 1994 is Craig Sheffer and Eric Stoltz, Meg Tilly, and of course that cameo by Quentin Tarantino there, and Joey Lauren Adams, June Lockhart. So, that was at that time when Tarantino was taking all those acting roles. And he went through that phase. So,
that's Johnny Destiny.
Meg Tilly's another one that, but she dropped out willingly. She didn't want to make movies anymore. She disappeared for a long time too.
Yeah,
she was good. I liked her.
Yeah. So you have Speechless from 1994. That's Michael Keaton, Gina Davis, and Christopher Reeve.
That doesn't work.
Wow.
This is like the late night HBO of 1990s.
This is
list.
Yeah.
That movie should have worked though. I mean, it should have had some kind of charm to it, but it just doesn't work with that cast and that kind of plot that they were working on.
No, it does not work. You're right.
You know what I'm interested in though? I'm interested in switching channels. I remember seeing that movie when it first came out, and then in the past couple of months, I read a Pauline Kael review of it where she raves about it. I mean, she says this is a low bar comedy, but she says it has a lot of pleasures in it, and I've been wanting to see it again.
I remember not caring for it when it came out, but
nobody did.
No one did. It's just an updated version of the front page, right? I mean, I remember.
Yeah.
So Criterion also issued Chaplin's film The Kid, as a standalone release. So they put that one out there, and Scream Factory
that's got to have a lot of extras on it. The Kid, because the Kid is what, an hour long.
Short. Yeah, it does. It's got a bunch of stuff on it. But yeah, so they Scream Factory has issued another Vincent Price collection. This is number 3. But Master of the World from 1961 is in there, and Tower of London from 62. Diary of a Madman, Cry of the Banshee, and An Evening of Edgar Allan Poe, which is a 1-hour television special he did. So that's what you get if you get pick up the Vincent Price collection, number 3. So there you go.
They can't put Theater of Blood in there? I mean, come on.
I don't know. It seems like that might have been in an earlier one, but maybe I'm wrong. I was thinking maybe it was, but it might have been in volume 1 or 2. But
we have volume 1. It's not in that. So
okay.
I remember reading the list for 2 and 3, and I'm 3. It just seems to be diminishing returns, but I guess horror fans will buy anything. So
yeah.
Except an original concept.
Yes.
Well, we have another Criterion issue, and this one is I Knew Her Well from 1965. So directed by Antonio Pietrangeli. So I've never seen that one.
I haven't ever even heard of that. So
yeah, I Knew Her
Well.
Well.
That's what's great about Criterion. They can put out things like that, and instantly up their
By the
viewership.
way, they just you know how Criterion comes out with these top 10 where they have filmmakers or actors or whatever list their top 10 favorite Criterion titles.
Mm-hmm.
They just did one with Brie Larson, and it's surprising. Her top 10. Her number 1 is A Woman is a Woman from Godard. Which, by the way, I got the viewing link to the new Godard movie that comes out next month. Haven't watched it yet. But it's called something, A Married Woman or something. Then she has Boone Well, she has Cassavetes and Wilt Stillman and Antonioni and Bergman and The Third Man. She's got very sophisticated taste. Yeah, she didn't. Armageddon was not in that top 10. The Michael Bay. I wonder if anyone's listed that in their top 10.
Yeah. Wow.
That is the one release by them that just totally astounds me.
They wanted to make money. They said, what would it be like to actually make money off of this stuff?
I wonder how Criterion does financially. I mean, you know, I guess they're doing good, but it's you know, it's hard to see a lot of people buying, you know, Death by Hanging, but
yeah, it's well, they have, you know, their niche, I guess, and so, you know, whatever they have. Some of these titles that I'm not really all that familiar with are getting like Bitter Rice. I know we joked about that, but that was
right.
a big title for the fans that they've been requesting that. But I wasn't really all that aware of it. I think I'd heard it mentioned in passing, but wasn't really all that familiar with it until it got a release on Criterion. So it's interesting. But this is actually a made-for-television miniseries, but it's worth bringing up because of the incredible cast that's in this. It's from 1977, Jesus of Nazareth. Speaking of Franco Zeffirelli. Yeah. And what a cast in this thing. I mean, Shout Factory's putting this thing out, but, I mean, you know, with Olivia Hussey and Bancroft and Olivier and Borgnine, and got Anthony Quinn, James Mason, and James Ferrantino, and Rod Steiger, and Christopher Plummer, and Michael York, and Ian Holm, and Peter Ustinov, and James Earl Jones, and Stacy Keach, and Donald Pleasance, and Fernando Rey, and Ralph Richardson, Tony Lobianco, Cyril Cusack. You know, those are a few that appear in this thing. So just incredible.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it really, really is. It's worth seeing, really, if for no other reason, just for this incredible cast that appeared in that, and it was a big deal in its time. I remember it used to get they used to repeat that about every Easter for a while on NBC, but it used to be one of those television events.
Yeah, well, miniseries events used to be huge. I mean, those used to draw tens and tens of millions of people. If you think back at like stuff like Shogun and North and South and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
The Thornbirds.
Oh yeah.
Kind of miss those serialized events like that. It's kind of sad they're gone. But we'll have Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things from 1973, directed by the late great Bob Clark.
That was a mainstay on like Creature Feature on Saturday afternoons on TV. They'd always like play Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. That used to be a big title.
It's true, yeah. Alan Ormsby, is the star, and he does, I guess, the makeup too, I believe in that. But that was, it was, I think, Clark's second film that he made the horror film. I'm trying to think of it had so many titles I can't think of.
Oh, he did Death Dream.
Death Dream, that's it. Yeah, because
which was also called Dead of Night. It's a kind of a monkey's.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Kind of a monkey's paw, a takeoff on Monkey's Paw with a.
It is.
With a Vietnam veteran who was killed in action, coming back to take revenge on the people that convinced him to sign up in the first place. And then they went on and did Bob. Am I right in saying that Bob Clark had something to do with Deranged, which was?
Yeah, he was involved with that somehow.
Yeah,
I think he was a producer, and
right.
And then they did Black Christmas, of course, the same year.
Yes.
Which, it's always fascinating when you mention to people that who are unaware of directors or whatever, and you tell them that the same guy who made A Christmas Story also made the horror film Black Christmas.
Yeah.
And people just are floored when you tell them it's the same guy. He was such a versatile director, So
and Porky's. I mean,
and Porky's too.
That's good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Baby Geniuses.
Yeah, well, yeah. Baby Geniuses. How could we forget that one?
Yes.
So, anyway, moving right along, we have Key Largo. Warner Archives is doing two of the Bogart films. Key Largo is one of them, and The Big Sleep is another one. So
I was just raving about Key Largo last week. How totally exciting it is. So,
yeah.
So I'm glad to see that getting out there.
Yeah, and Warner Archive Blu-rays, they're different from the. I just found out this recently that they're different from the Warner Archive standard DVDs, because the standard DVDs are, when you order one, they press it up on a DVD-R or something.
Right.
But these are actually manufactured. The Blu-rays from Warner Archives are actually manufactured discs, so they're not just pressing them when they get an order on a DVD-R. They're actually, they're actually doing a run of these things, manufacturing them. So I think they will hold up in the long run. For a while, I thought they were doing just pressing them as they got orders like the other ones, but that's not the case, I found out. So I stand corrected on that for anybody who's curious about that. So anyway, we have a couple of 1970s, I guess, softcore films here. Erotic Adventures of Candy and Candy Goes to Hollywood.
What date did those come out on?
78 on the 1978's the year of release. Vinegar Syndrome is putting them out.
All right, I'm gonna go to my local. I'll be ordering those from Amazon tonight when we get off the air.
Yeah. Directed by Gail Palmer and starring Carol Connors. So there you have it.
Not Carol O'Connor. I mean, not to be.
No, not to be confused. No, not at all.
Carol O'Connor in the heat of the night.
Stars in. One of Eric Romer's films that has quite a following. It never got a proper release here in the States is Pauline at the Beach from 1983.
Oh yeah, that's good.
That got an art house release, though. That did get an art house release in the States. When it came out.
It hasn't ever gotten a proper video release. I should, correct that
comment.
Wait,
let me ask you a question. Is that on that Criterion? That's not on the Criterion box, then, is it? That came out a couple years ago.
No. You're talking about the Moral Tales, the ones with My Night at Maud's and all that. No, it's not in there, unfortunately. That's the only real Romer that has been given proper treatment on video as far as DVD was the Moral Tales box set, which is really phenomenal if you're an Eric Romer fan. It's definitely worth having. But I'm glad to see that they're maybe going to. I was hoping Criterion might step it up and put out another box with some of these other titles that there's so many other great Romer films that have been neglected, I think. So. Yeah, so Pauline at the Beach, Kino is doing that one, not Criterion, ironically. So, anyway, Tenebrae is being issued. That's the Dario Argento with Anthony Franciosa and John Saxon. So they're doing a deluxe edition on that. There's only 3,000 units being pressed on that, and there's quite a copious amount of extras there. So anybody who's interested in the works of Dario Argento, if you're a completist, you want to get Tenebrae. It's out from Synapse. And Synapse is working on the 40th anniversary edition of Massacre at Central High, I'm told. So I'm looking forward to that coming down the pipe.
Oh, God, yeah.
That might be one I actually go out and buy. I don't know why I'm so excited about that movie, but it's just so great.
I think it is, too. It is really good. And I think the director of that, Rene Dalder, he is involved in the disc that's going to be put out. He's still around, and he is directly involved with the transfer and all that. So it should be good. I think they're aiming for a summer release, but it's been hard to get a hold of for way too long, I think. So So 1978. Speaking of that year, The Bees, starring also John Saxon.
John Saxon
again.
John Saxon did so many horror movies. He did Black Christmas. He was in Blood Beach.
Blood Beach. Yes. Oh God. Yes. I know. I like that. I like that movie. Okay. Never mind. I do like that.
Yeah.
And he did Mitchell.
Yes.
Another horror movie of a different sort.
Yeah.
But, it's John Carradine's also in this one. This is supposedly the previously unavailable director's cut of The Bees. So Vinegar Syndrome again putting that one out. So there you go. And also Scream Factory is releasing The Curse and The Curse 2 with Will Wheaton and Claude Akins. What a combination of actors. And David Keith.
Where the hell is the Sheriff Lobo box set?
Yeah. Well, listen, David Keith actually directed the Curse. So that's with the casting of Claude Akins and Cooper Huckabee, John Schneider, and Will Wheaton, and then directed by David Keith. I mean, boy, there's a threat for you.
Dude, I'm getting that for sure. I mean, hell yeah.
Yeah.
John Schneider, wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I still have a 45 because there was a brief period of time when John Schneider tried his hand at a country music career. I still have one of his songs. Oh, is it It's Now or Never? Did he remake the Elvis song?
Yes, he did.
Yes, that's the 45 I have of John Schneider.
Yep. That actually got in the top 20, believe it or not.
Yes.
It was
it was a hit.
It was on the pop charts, I might add. So it was at the heyday of the Dukes of Hazzard thing. So, but the cast in The Curse 2, The Bite, is interesting too because it has Bo Swenson, Sherry Appleby, and Jamie Farr and Jill Sheridan.
Wait, what is Jamie Farr doing in? I mean,
I don't know, but he's in it. So I had to bring that one up.
How often has that phrase been said? Like, what is Jamie Farr doing in here?
Oh man, that's amazing.
I don't know. Some of these movies, you know they're terrible. Just looking, but you can't help but think, wouldn't it be great to see these wildly divergent casting going on in these things?
Man, it's so funny.
Oh boy. So then here is a great film, and it's kind of a landmark for Criterion because they've never done any Mike Nichols on Blu-ray or DVD. Now they did some laser discs of Mike Nichols films. They did Carnal Knowledge and The Graduate, but this is the first title since they've gone to DVD and Blu-ray, and The Graduate finally made its way to Blu-ray. And so it's coming out this coming Tuesday. And, there's a documentary on Mike Nichols that's going to be airing on the 22nd of February on HBO for our listeners who aren't aware of that. It's directed by Douglas McGrath, the co-writer of Bullets Over Broadway. And supposedly, the last two interviews that he gave before his death. But anyway, but The Graduate, they're saying it's the best it's ever looked, and it's got a lot of interesting extras here, a lot of featurettes, and an interview with Bobby Osteen. That's
cool. Good.
She's a guest on our show. So, and there's of course commentary with Mike Nichols and Steven Soderbergh. So,
Bobby Osteen has become very close with the Criterion people, because anytime they do a segment on an editor, like when they did their Don't Look Now a couple of months ago, she went over to Italy or England or wherever the editor of that film was living and did the interview with him.
Wow.
So they call upon her a lot. She's made a real headway in for lack of a better term, mainstreaming the editing process, as much as that's possible for all the interest out there for it. So she's done a good job with that.
Yeah. That Don't Look Now, by the way, is a fantastic issue by Criterion. I think it's terrific, and those I saw that what you're talking about. It's a great supplement for the film if you're a fan of that.
You got to talk to the editor. I mean, because that's the key to that movie.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's just revolutionary.
Yeah. That, and I think Pino Donaggio, that score, which was his first before the De Palma films, and they actually got him in there. There's a segment with him, which you don't see him interviewed that often, which I thought was quite fascinating, and he explains how he kind of stumbled into film scoring it wasn't something he was seeking out. They kind of sought him, which was interesting, and it kind of led to a second career. So, and anyway, we have Scream Factory issuing The Serpent and the Rainbow. So
that's probably the best Wes Craven horror movie out there. If you ask me, like it feels like it's his most original and serious movie, and it's really good. Bill Pullman.
I got to tell you, I mean, I only watched that when it first came out in the theaters. There was a period of time in high school where this girl was interested in me. I wasn't interested in her, but we became friends. But what was really creepy was her mother kind of took me under her wing. Not that I needed to be taken under anyone's wing because I had great parents, but her mother was trying to hook the two of us up. So she would escort us to the movies every Friday, and I just wasn't interested in her. And Serpent and the Rainbow was one of the movies we saw. I think Colors was another movie we saw around that time. So, and then her mother would start making statements like, man, I wish I could be a fly on the wall the first time my daughter has sex. It was
what?
It was a very weird. It was a very weird situation that I was being prepped for. So I kind of got the hell out of that.
Thinking.
Yes.
That's
wow.
bizarre. Sure. Yeah. So, the Fritz Lang film "Woman in the Moon" from 1929. It's a silent, obviously, but does have a piano score there. So, but they've done 2K restoration on that. Kino's putting that one out, and then one more that I'll mention is the deluxe issue of Off the Wall, the Michael Jackson Off the Wall CD, and it's accompanied by the Spike Lee documentary that's out now. Journey from Motown to Off the Wall. So I think that's the only way you can get that documentary is to buy the the off the wall, the deluxe edition.
They should be inseparable, because that the movie, like we discussed last week, is so intensely focused on the production of that album that it almost demands a listen to the album, as a supplement. The documentary is really the supplement to the album.
Yeah.